everyone, and welcome to the That Being Said podcast with JAA. I am your host, the here and now of podcasting, JAA. Hope everyone's having themselves a wonderful day wherever you are. God bless you. We're back after a week off. We took last week and we filled up some more interviews that are in the back catalog, ready to go. We've improved a lot of the equipment for the show. You have to remember, while I've been doing journalism for a long time, this podcast as a whole, I've been learning as I go along, and I thank everybody for joining me on this journey as I've been not only learning, but been so blessed to have so many wonderful guests in this time. Today's guest is Vin Jay, fellow New Yorker, amazing musician, friend of mine, and his debut album, Prophecy, drops this Friday, May the 29th. What I'm going to have in the description is a link to pre-order the album on either Spotify or iTunes, but he also has some physical copies available, and if they're still around by the time this episode airs, I definitely suggest grabbing a physical from Vin Jay because it's going to be an album to hold on to. You're going to want to say you had the first. So Friday, May 29th, Prophecy, Vin Jay's debut album, it releases, and we're going to talk about that in our interview today. A little disclaimer about our interview is the first 4 or 5 minutes or so, there's a little bit of a distortion in the phone. I kept losing connection with him, and it certainly improves after the 5-minute mark, and that's where the good talking points of the interview lie. My apologies to Vin Jay and to everybody for that, but that's a reason why I've upped my equipment for the show, and like I said, it's been a learning process. Next Friday, we will have Joey Nato in the house. Who's on the That Being Said podcast? Nato. That was my best Nato impression. I don't know if it was that good. He will be on the show next Friday, and we're talking about a number of different things. I was planning tonight to have a community calendar and talk on a few music points. That changed. Unfortunately, Hana Kimura, a professional wrestler of 22 years old, took her life yesterday. And in light of this, and the circumstances surrounding this, the topic's changed tonight to one a little more serious. And actually does hold in relation to my interview with Vin Jay, actually, in a lot of ways. Hana Kimura, professional wrestler over in Japan, one of the first ladies to ever wrestle Wrestle Kingdom this past year in January. Well, she was on a Netflix show in Japan, and there was an incident on the show where one of the people in the house they were in washed his clothes with her Wrestle Kingdom gear, and it shrank and effectively ruined her gear that she wore for this event. And this event was very important to her, as it would be for any young person in their career, anybody in their career, period, if they're in professional wrestling. But to be a woman to wrestle at the Tokyo Dome on that show was definitely a spectacular accomplishment. When he did that, she lost her temper with him and was angry and ended up flicking his hat off. But fans of the show started harassing this young woman relentlessly. And that leads to our topic, which is about bullying, cyberbullying, and the way we just approach people on social medias. Because this is something that is very important to understand, is that what we say and how we carry ourselves on these socials does indeed have an effect. It does indeed have an effect, and unfortunately, that effect this week cost a 22-year-old woman her life. So she was harassed, and the backlash to that. And yes, and I suppose 2 days ago, she posted up a very graphic photo that showed self-harm, and then a series of tweets that read like a suicide note. People that were close to her and fans very concerned, and after news that was up and down throughout the day, unfortunately the news broke last night she had taken her life. This happens every single day. Whether it's a celebrity, whether it's the kids in our high schools and our middle schools. This is a serious issue. Bullying in general is a serious issue. So anyone that grew up with me knows I was bullied pretty badly for a period of time in my life. And this is the first time I'm saying this publicly and admitting to this in a public capacity. There's people that know me personally that to this day don't know this, but I'm going to be transparent. I think it's important that people know that even those that seem like they're the most together have gone through some form of this in their lives. But even if, let's say you haven't, they've gone through something, right? They've gone through something in their lives that you may not see. You may not see or assume that on the surface, but they certainly have. So for me, I had a cutting issue between 13 and 15 years old. And I would cut my arms up. And if I didn't have a wonderful support system, and in my case, my faith was very instrumental in me pulling out of this dark hole in my life, I don't know how much further it would have went than just a cutting issue at the time. The guidance counselor was made aware because 2 girls in the school had gone to the guidance counselors to say, hey, Jonathan's arms are all messed up. And when they did that, he saw and they took pictures and evaluated me and all that. And he told my father, and the exact quote was, I have never seen a student cause such aggressive and mass infliction on themselves. And he had been working in his field for at least 20 years at that point. And yeah, my thing was I would cut my arm up all over and I'd try to hide it. And it wasn't like every day I did it. It would happen when it would happen. And then there was times I tried to make light of it. For example, I carved the name of a band I was in, Chainsaw. That was a way I could play it off, right? Is that I could say, oh, it was just for my band. And there's people that see that and that I would even laugh about it years later with and go, yeah, I was trying to do it for this reason. But the reasoning was I was suffering. I was hurt by what I was enduring on a day-to-day basis. The bottom line is that I was being made fun of pretty badly and dealt with other kinds of harassment. And that was in person. But now we're in a world, I grew up then and I got out of it with a wonderful support system. But we're in a world now that this is not just prevalent in our day-to-day, let's say in a school, that we could just chalk up to teenage angst meets kids being cruel. These kids are going home and it continues. They can't escape it. And beyond even just the children that are suffering is celebrities as well. And not only celebrities, I shouldn't even use the word celebrities. I would just say publicly known people are suffering this every day. I think that it comes from 2 different facets. I think that one of them is people not thinking that there's any harm that's being really done because it's not real, right? It's not face to face with the person. And then there's, of course, the other end of it, which is troll culture, which is manifested into a whole other beast online. Now, as far as the troll culture goes, if you ever watch KSI's videos, his Reddit videos specifically, and even these like One Question Goes, you could see troll culture in full blast there. And for JJ, he feels that he's got the thick skin for it, and that's fine. That's fine if that's the kind of entertainment he wants to put together. But you can see how easy it is for even these like oftentimes 12, 13-year-old kids. They jump right into it. They're dropping the N-word at him like it's no issue whatsoever. That would only manifest itself on the internet. And not thinking it's such a big deal. Well, it has an effect. It cost a 22-year-old woman her life. It's cost many, many countless other people their lives. Their lives. even in musicianship, it's terrible how some people are with one another. Now you can say, hey, I'm allowed to express an opinion. I'm allowed to say, hey, I hated this song. I hated this. And I will respond to you by saying, yeah, you have every right to say that. But how are you going about that? In this particular circle, you know what I see a lot? I see people go, song's trash. Yo, that guy is trash at what he does. You know, a lot of times that the person that is being called trash is a kid just trying to learn and get better. You know that we were all trash at one point as musicians till we got better, till we practiced and practiced. There's constructive criticisms, and then there's just being cruel to somebody. We're allowed to disagree with one another. We're allowed to not like something. We're allowed to express that we don't like something. But how are we going about doing it? Because that can turn into bullying in a way as well. Because even though you're not targeting a person and saying, look, I'm trying to hurt this person, because that's what active bullying is going out of your way to hurt somebody. But you know what? You may be hurting that person without realizing it. You may be tearing down somebody in such a hurtful way to them that it'll affect them in ways you don't realize. Obviously, the topic of cyberbullying is everywhere. Well, it's been covered in every way, rather, and it is everywhere that there is an awareness that this is an issue. But it is an issue. And this young woman's death really hit home with me with my own issues I had with cutting and that part of my life. I don't know how far I would have been willing to take it back then, especially when you're a kid and you really don't have grasp of how precious life really is. But this is why I encourage people to be good to one another. This is why I encourage showing love to everybody. If you want to go on Twitter or Facebook and tag somebody and tell them they're trash, their music's trash, you want to go about it that way, you do you. But I challenge anyone who's had that demeanor to reevaluate how you say these things, how you approach these people. You know, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all mantra, it can be applied here, but it doesn't necessarily even have to be. We can provide constructive criticisms to one another without calling an artist flat out trash, without telling them their song is trash. They're learning in a lot of cases, man. They're learning and they're just trying to figure it out. They're trying to be as good as they can be as an artist. Shame on anyone in this community who goes out of their way to put down an artist. If I'm not a fan of your music, I'm not going to go out of my way to say I'm not a fan of your music. I'm just not going to be a fan. And look, you don't have to do it the way I do it. But I challenge you to try to be more positive in your usage of social medias. Show love to each other. Lift one another up. Try to encourage these young artists that are trying. They're just trying. Try to raise people up with your tweets instead of constantly using Twitter, Facebook, Instagram to voice our displeasures with everything in the world. Because that seems to be the centerpiece that so many people have. They like to use it when they're frustrated about something. I've been very guilty of this in the past. And I am actively trying every day to stay away from doing that in any regard. And I think I've done a pretty good job in the last couple of years of not going that direction. But that's what it is. It's having enough care for one another that we're not going to feed into what's already a very toxic culture when it comes to social media. I don't want to see young people taking their lives because people have to go out of their way to trash somebody because of a TV show they saw. I don't want to see the kids in the schools taking their lives because they feel like you've embarrassed them so bad with that little Snapchat you snapped at them when they weren't looking, or the picture you took of them and memed for the world. I don't want to see that. I want to see people lift one another up. I want to see love for one another in this world. Is that some hippie stuff? You know what? Too bad if that's how you see it. I think it's human being stuff. Dave Cole is a friend of mine, a wrestler and an artist, made the Medicine Spoon logo, was talking about just how he couldn't understand how people could be so vile and mean when it came to a topic. And I said, some humans have their emotions turned off. And even when I wrote it, I couldn't believe that I was saying it so bluntly. And he responded, turn them back on. I don't know why that exchange stood out to me, but that was about a week ago. And it's still sticking with me, especially in light of everything that's happened in the last week. There's enough negativity in the world. People are battling with each other over politics, religion, much pettier issues than those two. Why don't we be different? That's what being the difference actually means when I say it, if you didn't know. Let's be different. Let's not focus on the things that piss us off. Let's focus on the things that make us smile. Let's focus on the things that make us laugh. Let's put focus on the people that make us laugh. For Hannah's family, they're not going to see her laugh again. And that could have been prevented. And in all these cases, for all these people, it could be prevented. In this community, damn it, we're going to prevent that from ever happening to one of our own. Because we're going to respect one another. We're going to show love for one another. When we have a young artist coming up, and maybe they're not perfect at their craft, we're not going to sit and tell them they're trash. Because nobody deserves to be made to feel like they should take their life. Show love for one another, man, and be loving for one another. Be loving to one another. That being said, I didn't mean to get so somber, but Vin Jay on his record has a song called Don't Do It, and he's going to talk about it in the interview. But it's just about that. When you're feeling low, when you feel like the world's against you, when you feel like you're going to take your life or maybe hurt yourself, don't do it. Don't do it. That's what it's about. I'm going to put the suicide prevention numbers in the description as well, and links for all that information. I want you, if you feel like you're hurting, if you feel like you need somebody, this is my tag on Twitter. It's an open invitation. Reach out to me because I'm here for you. And I promise there's a number of people who love you, who are here for you if you're going through it. Open door policy, man. Reach out. I'll be here for you if you feel like no one else is. And I know all my friends in this scene, okay? Every last one of them, I know they'll stand by me in doing that. Because we're all here for you. This is my interview with Vin Jay. I want to thank Vin for coming on the show. And I want to thank him for writing that song as well. And to use his platform to talk on something so serious. To open up that he's been through these emotions as well. A lot of these people that you see, that you look up to, that you hope to inspire to be like, they've gone through it too, man. You're not alone. You're never alone. Thank you, Vin, for that. Thank you guys for taking a few minutes and listening to me speak from the heart about this. I'm very passionate about this, and I don't want to see that at all. But I really don't want to see it in this community of young musicians. We're here to lift each other up, and we're here to make everybody better. Let's do it in a constructive way, and let's not put one another down. Here's my interview with the one, the only Vin Jay. I'm here with Vin Jay, fellow New Yorker, and my gosh, one of the quickest upcoming artists out in the scene right now. It's a pleasure to have you on. How you doing today, man?
Good, man. Pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, man. How have you been holding up during this time? What you been doing to pass the days?
Making good, man. Like, prepping the business man for this album. I'm used to just making music and having fun with it. When we created the album, after all the music is done, you kind of have to figure out, marketing and the best way to get it to the most people possible. So I'm playing businessman right now, pretty much. On the website, running all that fun stuff.
Well, from the very beginning, that's kind of been your thing. You've self-promoted, you do your own videos, that kind of thing. Obviously, you work with Jake, and you two work together as a team, a cohesive team to do it. But this is your debut album, correct?
Yeah, you can definitely consider it that. It's I don't have any, machine or major label behind me, or to push it in the sense that it can be considered a debut album per se, but it is definitely my first, what I consider, real album, since I broke onto the scene per se. So, yeah, it's definitely my first real serious album.
Well, you know what? That's interesting, because one of the things when we met in Brooklyn almost 2 months ago, can you believe that much time's gone by?
Yeah, that's wild.
It is wild. But one of the things we were talking about is the power of an artist these days to self-promote. And I know that's something you're passionate about, is your independence, right? And independence from labels. How do you think what do you think some of the advantages now in promoting this album on your own are, and maybe some of the disadvantages you're running into?
The advantages of doing it independently are straight up not getting robbed for royalties, man. You put all this work into our music as artists, and to be able to collect, 100% of your royalties, or, split it with at least people that, your producer, or people that help you get this far, is really, all your hard work pays off for you and the people working with you, not some big machine that pushes you at their leisure if they truly believe in you, or if someone else better doesn't come along for them, a better opportunity. So the plus side is, we get to do whatever we want. No one's telling us what type of music we have to release. No one's pushing us to make pop records. And it's just all project through and through. You hear us grow through it because it's over the course of the year. And it's just all us, man. The only downside, I could say, is labels have more money than we do to push it in front of more people. But they rob you with the royalties at the end of the day anyway. So they'll get it in front of more people, but they'll make a lot more money than you do,
And you know what? A lot of times they'll keep your masters on you. You'll lose ownership of your own music, and that's got to be a defeating feeling for a lot of artists, especially when they're away from that label.
Exactly. You hear a lot of, it's every few months, I hear another artist that's a big name, and there's something doing their label, because they're full pop and everyone knows their name and they're not getting paid at all for both.
Man, well, Prophecy, your first real project, as you were saying, May 29th, 2020, it comes out on all streaming platforms, correct?
Yeah.
Is there any particular song on this record? Because I know that it has some of the songs that we've heard from you throughout the year, collected on here. But is there any songs that stand out that are being heard for the first time on here?
Absolutely. I'm trying to think what I can give you. You don't want to leaking too much shit.
Of course.
I can give you something. It's actually very big and something I'm very proud of. And you're the first person to hear this, so it's definitely good for the show. So, the name of the song is called Don't Do It. It's on the album. I actually just shot the video for it yesterday or the day before. And it is about depression and suicide, because I think that is a very serious topic. And when when you're given a platform you should definitely use it to help others, you know? Otherwise, you're just, you're benefiting yourself. So I made a song solely based on depression and suicide and my experiences with it. So the fans know I can relate. And it's my favorite song that I've ever made. You could compare it to my song Addicted, but it's deeper than that. And it's going to save a lot of lives. So I think it's the best song I've ever created, just for that fact that it's going to change people's lives, and it's going to resonate with a lot of people.
That's beautiful, man. And as somebody who works in a church, I see people dealing with this on a daily basis. What song was it again? I wasn't sure if that came through correctly on the phone.
The name of the song is Don't Do It.
Don't Do It. Oh, I'm looking forward to hearing it. And I think that that's really important for artists to do, to use their platform, not only to let the fans in on themselves a little bit, which artistically is fulfilling it, both for the fans and for the artist, but I do think to raise awareness and to let fans know, hey, listen, I understand what you're going through. I know why you look to, let's say, my music or other artists' music as an escape.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of the fans look up to me. I look up to other artists myself. And when someone that you look up to or idolize, you view them on, you put them on this pedestal, but when you can relate to them in a sense of depression or going through rough times, it kind of humanizes them for you. And it also makes you think like, wow, I put this person on a pedestal, but they're going through exactly what I'm going through. So, if I think they're so great, maybe if you guys go through, then I can get through this shit,
Absolutely. Life has so many curveballs we run through, and there's so many ways that people do escape, but I find music is among the biggest ways that people find therapy day to day. I've spoken to you about my own girlfriend, Kendra, and her mental illness, and she plays music 24 hours a day, and that helps her cope.
Absolutely.
What are some go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've always loved music, obviously, but I've had people DM me, telling me the effect, that my music has had on their life, which is, incredible to me. But my point is that I have no idea, like, the level of effect it has on people. I don't mean my music specifically. I mean music in general. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, it really saves some people's lives, even if it's not about, depression or being okay. Like, music in general, like, really helps a lot of people.
My gosh. And it not only, that's true. And you know what? You're growing very rapidly. And we're going to talk a little bit about your growth shortly, but you've grown really rapidly over the last year, right? And one thing that comes with that is you're reaching people from all around the world with your music, and I'm sure that you couldn't have foreseen just how far that reach would go.
Yeah, definitely. It was when it happened, it was not a shock per se, like it was a long time coming, but you wait for your blow up to happen for so long, and then even though you're anticipating it, you can never brace yourself for what it actually is. You know what I mean? And how much it's going to change your life. Like, you could prepare, but you never know. It's like, until you get it, how could you know what it feels like or what is going to change in your life? What steps you're going to have to take to really fill those shoes or even surpass that point. It's a really, really cool learning experience, no matter how much you prep for it. It kind of throws you into the business, and it's like, you just got to swim,
Yeah, right, sink or swim, but that's what the preparation's for. And you prepare yourself so that, in essence, you are ready, or even on another level, you can argue it's not necessarily being ready as much as having the skill to live up to what it is you just built, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mumble
Rapper
versus Lyricist, for example, people who heard that, and that was their introduction to you a little over a year ago, you had to follow that up in a strong way in order to keep the momentum going. Would you agree?
Yeah, that put a lot of pressure on me in the beginning, for sure. because I knew that, everyone was going crazy and loving that song, so I knew the place was on. And because I'd been making music for almost 10 years before that and no love on it. So that popped off, and then I was like, waiting for the next thing, but like all my other shit hasn't popped off before this, so like I don't know how this is. In my mind, that was the only song they liked from me, just because that was my one that went viral. So I was like, oh my god, like how am I going to compete with that? But luckily, fans are incredible, and they love, they're really supportive of the tracks that I drop, regardless of if they're slow, emotional tracks or fast rap or anything in between,
I think the level of production that you and Jake bring to your videos too, I think that helped tremendously, because you've just dropped video after video, so to speak, and I feel that the production keeps increasing as you go along.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I mean, me and my producer, Epidemic, definitely do our best to as often as possible and create different sounds and, just really make good songs. And then Jake is, dude's a legend. He's always buying new equipment, and he didn't love filming, film, as I am with music. So we're all, as a team, it's me, Epidemics, and Jake, we're all involved in, in our own ways and trying to become masters of our own crafts. Right for me, music for Epidemics, film for Jake. And when we have three people who are in love with what they do, and you form a team, and they're all trying to hone in on their skill, it just something beautiful comes out on the other end,
I think that's the key word, Vin. I think it's team. And I think that a lot of young artists haven't figured out that that's one of the big keys to the puzzle, is trying to get a team of people that not only believe in you, but see the vision, the end goal, so to speak, and believe that you can make it there. And I think that it's really important for the younger listeners, younger artists that listen to this show, to understand that you didn't come up overnight, and this team didn't come together overnight.
No, not at all. Me and Jake he's been filming me since I started making music. We've been working together since I was, if I had to guess, since I was 14. So I was 14 years old, I'm 24. And I popped off when I was 23. So that's 9 years it took, with me and him rocking the whole time. I met Epidemics after Mumble Rapper popped off. So it's overnight success. Every overnight success has 10 years of work behind it that you didn't see.
Absolutely. There's nothing really overnight about it, but that's how it comes off, of course, to the audience that didn't necessarily see the grind. But it is cool when they can go back and see where you came from. Like, for example, you still have the songs like We in the Building and Hate Me Up that were from way earlier in your career.
Yeah, I contemplated taking those down, too. I took a bunch of stuff down, but I didn't want to take everything down because then it's tracks when you're less involved and less good, as a craft are motivated to the people who like it, who are aspiring artists, because they see where you came from. So I didn't want to take everything down. So I left a few little gems here and there that they could go back and watch if they care about stuff.
Yeah, and how would you say that you've evolved since, let's just say, We in the Building, because I think that's the oldest one you still have up. Like, in what ways do you think you've evolved as a writer and as a performer?
Where to start? I'm a lot more comfortable with, I guess, everything involved with writing and just being a rapper, as funny as that sounds, being an artist. I'm just more comfortable. I feel like when I was doing it was super experimental. It was a dream for a 14-year-old, I was just making fun music videos and obviously wanted to blow up. But since then, I've developed more as an artist. That's the thing. I say back then I called myself a rapper, and now I would consider myself an artist because I don't want to just make raps. I enjoy making songs or pieces of art, things that help people or add more melodies involved. Make it a entire piece as opposed to just, 16 and a hook type deal. I'll talk my shit on some songs because you gotta have fun, man. That's the whole point of it. But then there's other ones that, We just want to create stuff that's never been created before and give the audience feelings that they wouldn't have felt otherwise. And I don't think that was ever a goal up until this point that we're at.
I really do feel that you have a unique sound. I think that you definitely come off very different than a lot of other people in, let's say, this particular scene and just hip hop in general. I think you are bringing something very different to the table. Just like, for example, Dizzy 8 brings something different, Crip brings something different. But what's really cool is seeing this lineup of really talented young artists who all have struggled over the last decade start to come up now. And I think that's an amazing thing.
Hell yeah, man. It's great to see, all the homies eat, man. It's a real organized deal, man. And when you've been through the struggle and you see someone else who's been through the struggle and then they start to make it, you can't feel anything but happy for them because you know the feeling,
Absolutely. And I thought that YouTube Cypher, for example, last year, you were on the first one, that coming together of all these artists that I think in the same way have grinded for a decade to get to this point. It was almost like a celebration of all of you starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Looking back at the first YouTube Cypher, how do you feel about your verse, and how do you feel about it as a whole, especially a year removed?
As a whole, I loved it. Great experience. Met a lot of dope people through it. Collabed with, I think, the majority of them. I mean, if I went back and looked, I'm pretty sure I collabed with the majority of people on that Cypher. So I made some dope friends from it. Really, good connections and lifelong friendships too. Like Crip is one of my best friends through this music shit for sure. Now, my first, personally, not a big fan. But that was because it was also new. Like, Mumble Rapper popped off. I'm also my biggest critic, so you got to recognize that, as is any other artist. But once Mumble Rapper popped off, I, want to start putting out as much shit as possible to keep that wave going. So we made Overdose, put that out. Put this hitting me up to Cypher, which was dope as fuck. But you got to realize, before Mumble Rapper, I was dropping a song probably once every 4 fucking months, right? 3 to 4 months. Every 3 to 4 months I was dropping a track. So now I'm at a point where I'm trying to create a song a week with a video and have them all be quality while still having that insane quantity. So it was a huge change for me to keep making good songs, but quadruple the rate that I was doing it. So in my opinion, my verse was rushed for me. I never changed anything. Everything I've done got me to the point where I'm currently at. So, yeah, man, that was feelings as a whole.
I know that feeling. I remember back when we were really grinding, the band I was in, Carcinogen, and we made some moves in metal about a decade ago. I don't know if you know the Crazy Donkey. I don't know if you remember the Crazy Donkey, the one that was on Route 110.
No, where is the Crazy Donkey? I've definitely been there before.
Oh, it was on Route 110 in Farmingdale by the Fun Zone, the one that we always see the commercial for out here. And they went out of business a couple years ago, but they used to have some pretty sick concerts.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. I used to be big into bands. I've definitely been there.
Oh, I'm sure you have. And, Big Daddy Kane and a lot of sick artists have actually performed over there. And in metal, a lot of the big name metal acts, that's the only Long Island type show they would do. But we had to kind of rush a demo just to get it in the hands of promoters and just to get on those types of shows. So I know what you mean in feeling like artistically rushed, because I look back at the actual demos we recorded versus songs we did later on, and it's night and day, and it is an adjustment period.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah, it's when the music becomes, your job, your main source of income. It's what happened, for me at least. Pressure, it's a weird thing, man, because you're working all this time to make music your career. And then when it happens, the pressure builds now, because now it's your way to make money, and the fans expect a certain amount out of you content-wise. So now there's this pressure to create a certain amount. But you also, as an artist, you love the music. You want it to be, the best stuff you could possibly make. So there's a fine line you got to ride of quality and quantity. And I did some time period, I think it was 2 months or so, where I was dropping a song a week. And towards the end, I called it. I was like, this is it. This is the last one for the weekly drops. After this, I can tell the clarity will drop if we continue because my brain is fried. But I'm super glad that I did it because it allowed me to develop a skill that I didn't have previously, which was if I can write on demand pretty much. Like if a big artist, like one of my idols, hits me up and wants to collab and brings me to the studio and like puts on the beat and they're like, write to this now and then we'll record it when you're done, Before those weekly drops, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that, at least not make a quality verse. Now, after those weekly things, I developed a skill set, an important skill set, that I can write in high pressure situations and still make it quality. So it was rough. It definitely tested my artistic ability, but I'm super glad I did it because now I know that I'm capable, if I am blessed with an opportunity like that, to lay something dope down on demand.
Well, that's it. It's that preparation you were talking about before, but in a different way. Now you're preparing yourself if you end up getting into a different type of opportunity. So all these are basically lending themselves to more opportunities going forward.
Hell yeah, man. Luck is just when preparation is opportunity.
You know what's funny is when you were saying that earlier, I wanted to be clever with that quote, but it just would not come to my fucking head. So I'm glad you said it.
There we go.
Oh, you said you gave up nicotine recently, man. Like, how's that going?
I'm going to be dead honest. You just read my mind, bro. I was even thinking that before you said that.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's going well. I mean, I haven't smoked it, so I think I'm 2 weeks off of it. But it's going well, but it sucks. You know what I mean? No, yeah, I'm off it for 2 weeks. It's great. I also haven't drank in 2 weeks or played video games, but those second two are just unintentional. I was just like, I quit nicotine, and then I was like, okay, now let me start working out more. And I started like eating better. And I'm like outside more, so I'm like, the drinking and video games slow down kind of just happened because I started eating better and working out, just took my time with other shit.
Yeah.
But I think I'm working out so much to get some type of endorphins in me because I don't have the nicotine, to be completely honest.
How long were you smoking? I mean, I know that you were vaping, not cigarettes per se, but how long were you smoking?
I did smoke cigarettes 2 years ago. It wasn't long. I was probably smoking cigarettes for like a year. Like really smoking. I smoked them, what's the word? Like with friends, right?
Casually.
But, yeah, casually. But I started buying my own packs. The old pack shit probably lasted about a year. And then casually, like, for years and years. Like, I would just, when I drank, I would smoke.
Socially, that's the fucking word.
Yes, that's it, socially. So vaping, though, that got me off cigarettes, and I've been off cigarettes for years. But then, even though vaping is healthier, I could smoke it from the second I wake up in my bed to the second I go to bed, to go to sleep in my fucking bed. Like, I can do this shit all day, every 5 seconds, no breaks. So just the amount of nicotine I was getting was like so, it's just convenient. So now going from basically an IV drip of nicotine to fucking no nicotine is definitely a vast change, but it's all about willpower and being strong-minded, and I love both of those things, I think. So I'm just, I don't want to have any vices. I don't want anything. It's not that I think vaping or nicotine is unhealthy for me. I'm not going to tell anyone else what to do. But I don't like the fact that I have vices, that something else, especially a chemical, has control over me. So I was like, fuck all that. So I just stopped,
Nah, power to you, man. Like, I'm not a drinker. I don't dabble in anything, but I am a terrible chain smoker of cigarettes. I might smoke about 2 packs a day to the head, so that's pretty fucking terrible on my end. But hearing that you quit, I was like, man, I gotta give it the honest effort. Especially if Vin can put it down, I should put it down too. I hope that this has been a good inspiration for me, but I was wondering how it was going.
Yes, like I said, man, it's good. I'm happy that I'm off it, but I'm still in a adjustment phase.
Hey, if you're working out more, though, you know what? Better for you, too,
Facts. I got a nice little double whammy of health going on right.
When you play, do you play PS4? You play Xbox? What's your preference?
Xbox. I got Xbox One, and I'm a big Call of Duty guy. I don't really play much else.
Oh, so you like the Call of Duty? Do you keep up with like each new release that drops?
Not relentlessly. I mean, I'll always give them a try. I have the newest one. So for Call of Duty, I'm pretty avid, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like back in the day, like I was a little bit more. I was quicker to jump from the next one to the next one, but I feel like they were dropping so many so often. I kind of couldn't keep up anymore. And I was a fan of Black Ops 3, so I stuck on that one for a while.
Yeah, I'm not buying them on release day or anything. Like, I know all my friends play, so with them playing, like, I'll see the gameplay when I go to the prayers. I'm like, that looks crazy good. Can't I'll get it, but that's pretty much what happened with this one. Warzone came out, like the Battle Royale for Call of Duty. I watched some gameplay of that, and I was like, oh, it's fucking game over. I'm getting that. and then came a lot of 3 a.m., 4 a.m. nights of just going crazy with that. And then I was sleeping until 2 every day, and that's why, like, I'm just trying to create better habits for myself, you know? Stop drinking as much. Stop staying up till 4 and waking up at 2 doing video games. And nicotine, just kind of, I've been doing good, bro. Waking up at like 8, 9, doing all good shit, attempting to at least.
No, listen, props to you, man. I'm a little older than you, but I mean, to kind of come to that realization as you're hitting your mid-20s, there's no better time to try to make those kinds of life changes, because going forward is when you really want to try to start on that straight and narrow. So I think you're in good timing for all of it, man.
Thanks, man. And, in no sense, how could I put this without sounding like a jackass? I definitely don't consider myself straight edge in the slightest. I just think it's good to kind of refresh and reset your mind sometimes and kind of, you know, realize what is important and what smart moves are hard to take. But I do enjoying myself, whether it's through partying or sometimes playing fucking video games till 3 a.m.
Well, yeah, but that's like that too. Like, even when I chain smoke, right, I don't consciously think about it, right, in the moment, but I'm having this conversation. I'm like, damn, if I'm going to be honest, I'm going to say it's 2 packs a day, you know, if I'm not going to undersell it. And then I think about it, I'm like, oh man, maybe I should consider. So it's one of those things too, when you're refreshing, you kind of look back and go, ooh, I might have been going kind of hard for a little bit there.
Exactly, man. I think that's why I'm so deep into the like little health niche right now, because I look back to where I was a few weeks ago, and it's just not somewhere you want to stay. You know, like, it's everything in moderation, bro. You could party, you could smoke, you could, you know, play video games and slack off, but you also got to sometimes put your nose to the grindstone to do what you got to do. So I just think I'm on that side of the spectrum right now. I think it's all about balance, man. You should enjoy yourself and party and do leisurely things.
Yeah, live your life.
I'm just completely on one side of the spectrum right now, but once I get my hard reset through, pretty much, I'm definitely going to stay right there in the middle somewhere of having fun and working.
but it's knowing that, right? It's understanding that you got to find that happy middle, because I think we all get into these weird binges, so to speak, and whatever it could be. For some people, it's eating too much. For some people, it's cigarettes. For some people, it's, you know, something a little bit harder. But yeah, it's recognizing that, and I think it's important for people to take that step back sometimes.
Absolutely, man. Awareness is 90% of the battle. You know, just being aware of what you're doing and what you should be doing. That's really what it is.
So we met over in Brooklyn 2 months ago at Crip's show. That was a fun night, man. And it was great to see you out. And I put up that one picture. I don't know if you remember it. It was you, me, Joey, and Crip. I wrote 4 rappers in Brooklyn. But
yeah, hell yeah.
But yeah, man, do you have any memories just from that and that experience? And just, I mean, that was pretty wild, man, to get all of us in one place at one time like that.
Yeah, it was a dope night, man. That was my first time seeing the homie perform, so that was fucking dope. And I'm always gonna support any person that I fuck with. You know what I mean? Whether it's, you know, musically or just a homie. And it was a good night, man. I met with people. You know, you yourself being one of them. I got to kick it with Dilly again. Hadn't seen him in a minute. I also met another artist from Long Island, so that was cool. I like meeting new people. You know, I'm super big into new experiences. I think that's all. You know, that's all life really is: meeting new people and trying new things. So.
Oh man, definitely. And you know what? I want to see. I hope to see you in a performance kind of aspect. I know we talked a little bit about that in person, but I mean, do you see yourself in the next year or so maybe going out and performing?
Absolutely. I already, well, it's there's been a change in plans now, obviously. But when I dropped Purge, that's when these conversations were happening. I spoke to Rez and Fritz. We were all up on a tour with him, and Fritz wanted me to hop on a tour with him. And that was supposed to happen like fall of this year, but clearly that's not happening anymore because it was gone down. But yeah, I love performing. The year after Mumble Rapper, I just wanted to drop so much music to feed the fan base as much as possible and feed the current fan base with as much content as possible. But now, that first album is dropped. Still going to be dropping content, but I'm trying to get my feet in as many waters as possible. Like now we got the website running, we got merch and physical copies and you know, collabing with bigger artists and then the performance, you know, like just I just want to I love the music. I just want to touch base on all aspects of it.
It's definitely awesome, man. I can't wait to see you in a capacity like that. I think that you're definitely going to bring it from an entertainment standpoint. But I think hearing a lot of these songs live would be really awesome, man.
Hell yeah, man. I have done a few shows, and I'm super big on energy and crowd interaction, man. A show I did, I bring people up to shotgun a beer with me. I like race shotgun a beer with them. I make sure I have a wireless mic so I can hop in the crowd and, you know, join mosh pits with the fans. I'm real big on crowd interaction and just, I bring a hype man with me so he can finish my lines if I get too out of breath from just raging too hard with you guys. So
it helps.
I think the show is an experience as opposed to just you guys watching me rap.
Absolutely. It has to be an experience. Like I just celebrated, last Friday was the 10-year anniversary of the largest crowd I did. I did 1,790 people at the Starland Ballroom in New Jersey. I was opening up for Cannibal Corpse. But one thing looking back even then is so I feel like I was better than I was before that, but I was nowhere near where I got later on. And I think performing's that different kind of learning experience where you learn how to bring energy properly and what you said, interaction. Because I remember when I was younger, I used to think that running around, right, equaled, oh, I'm high energy, I'm giving energy. But it's not that, because if the crowd's not invested in everything you're doing, then you're just a musician running around like an idiot, for example, you know?
Exactly.
But that's really awesome, man.
Now, yeah, how was that show with that many people? I've never performed in front of that many people before with my pants.
It was insane, and one thing that was really cool about it was it started kind of late. The guys got there late, the main band, so the whole show itself started later. Our set got cut, but we really didn't give a fuck because a lot of the audience came usually in the opening slot. You know, only half the audience is there till later, but we had the people in the building. But it was wild because I looked out and I just saw people all around, like really far back. And thankfully the music's so involved with metal that I didn't really have a chance to think too hard about it. But looking back and I look at the videos, it's unbelievable that I was able to be in that capacity.
Yeah, that's a dope experience and also a learning lesson. Just, you know, how to perform in a crowd of that size. That is really, really dope.
They were super cool too, man. They didn't have to be, especially because most of them didn't know who we are. But I think they were like, yo, man, look at these kids. Because I was 18 at the time, and the other guys were young too. So I guess they were like, man, look at these kids rocking out. And they showed us some love, so I appreciate it, you know?
Yeah, hell yeah.
But I could see you, man, doing a show like that even bigger, because the day's going to come where and this is just my, of course, my belief, but I think a lot of your fans agree, where someone's going to grab you and put you on one of them tours, man. That's going to be life changing in every way. And I sincerely hope that for you, because you're a great guy and you're not selfishly motivated. And that's something I know sincerely from short time we've known one another, but it comes out in your music too, Vin, that you're not selfishly motivated. You have a larger purpose with what you're trying to do with your music.
I appreciate that, man. And I definitely do. How could I put this? I want to see the people around me, and I'm always trying to convince the people around me of what they're capable of, and recognize their true potential. I'm not comfortable with just gaining myself, because what fun is success if you're the only one that's achieving it, and all the people you care about, you're leaving them below you. So, I'm always trying to bring people up with me, because I want to eat with them. Like, if I'm going to Jamaica and there's 2 weeks vacation because I can, what fun is it if I go by myself? I want to bring all the people that I care about with me, and self-sustainable as well, because the feeling that brings. So I enjoy seeing the people that I care about be successful as well. I think that's a huge staple in my life, and something I try to do often, maybe to a fault sometimes, because people are like, relax, I'm trying to fucking sit on my couch. But I over-motivate sometimes, but I always try to get people a little push.
Yeah, absolutely. And bring them up with you, right? Because you want everyone to kind of come up together. We all got to eat, so to speak. You said that a little bit earlier, right? It's nice when you see your friends eating too.
Absolutely, man. I always, like I said, I try to give them a push. And motivation is a funny thing, man. It works, but it's temporary. Like, if you watch a motivational video, you feel amped up, and you'll do some really good productive shit for a day, or maybe 2 days, maybe 3, but 3 days after that video has been watching, it kind of wears off. So there's a difference between being driven and being motivated. I think being driven is a little more long-term, and motivation is like taking a shower, It's like, that's why they recommend it daily. You got to fucking keep motivating yourself, otherwise you're just going to find yourself back at what you were doing before.
I actually love that, because, for example, one of the big things that for me as an artist was I always loved writing songs about just things I've gone through, but I would get angry about something, and that would motivate me in the moment, and I would try to write, like the craziest song or the most technical song to try to prove a point, but to be driven, right? And you know what? I learned that difference much later. I never thought about it the way you said it, but there really is a difference. And to be driven long term and to try to make that plan, you know what? I think that's an important thing to distinguish, actually.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Because any type of success requires consistency, and for a long ass time. So I think that's why it's super important.
I was going to ask you about one more video specifically. See, I got a preview of this back in Brooklyn before it dropped, which was really dope. But I think it's one of the best videos you've put out. But you put out the video for The Purge back in March, and I just wanted to ask you a little bit about where did you get the idea for it, and what was your mindset writing that song? Because I feel like you got to put yourself into a different artistic mindset, when you're putting together a piece like that.
Yeah, so first things first, just to touch on something real quick. Yeah, I did have to get myself in the mindset. I've never seen the movie, so when I found out we were doing a song like that, I felt to sat down and watch The Purge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, let me see what's good. Let's get to a psychopathic mindset real quick. But anyway, so this goes back to having a team, man, having a really incredible team. Because Epidemic's my producer, hit me up. He's like, dude, I just made a crazy beat. I'm going to send it to you right now. He's like, I sampled the siren in the Purge movie. And I was like, okay, cool. I was familiar with the Purge. I just never seen it. I knew exactly what it was about. So he sends me the beat. And the whole shit is, based off the siren. And it's just chaotic and all that. So I was like, he killed that. He bodied his part.
Oh, like, that beat is hard, man.
So I was like, huge. I was like, so that's fucking awesome. I was like, so let's make an entire song of The Purge. So that's where my lyrics come in. Boom. So Epidemic's bodies his part. I do my thing on the lyrics, and then we give it to Jake. And Jake's like, okay, awesome, I'm going to write out the video, blah, 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 blah. He comes over a week later, whatever it was, and he destroys his part as well. So, and then, you know, the video comes out, and it is what it is. It's a three-dimensional piece because Epidemics mastered his craft and slayed his part. I did my thing on the lyrics, and then Jake put his full effort and destroyed his part. So now it's like not just a song. It's like a three-dimensional experience because every single person put their own twist on it, you know, and really did their thing.
It's a perfect example of that team that you put together, right? That took that 9 years, man, to get to this point. And that video, I think, is a great example of the culmination of harnessing skill and all that time together.
Hell yeah, man. It's the one thing you can't fake or get any other way besides time and consistency is chemistry. And me and Jake had that very, very well. I'll make a song and send it to him, and I'll throw him ideas, and we'll bounce back and forth with his video ideas and mine. And that's what, like, culminates into the actual video. So for us to, like, tell you, like, no, I don't like that idea, or no, let's ditch that one and use this one, and we'll switch them, blah, blah, blah. Like, that is important, you know? Chemistry is huge because it's a very natural thing that comes out of it.
Yeah, and you know what? You're right. You can't fake chemistry, and you can't fake, I'm just trying to think how to phrase it. You can't fake chemistry, but you can't fake these kinds of relationships that are built up over many years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time. So I want to thank you for your time today, Vin. And, you know, this was wonderful to kind of pick your brain a little bit, artist to artist. But I really do think that you think of music in such a different way. And I was so excited to talk to you to kind of pick your brain a little bit of what your process is. And I've learned a lot just talking to you. As a matter of fact, I'll leave you with this. In Brooklyn, we had a conversation, and you really left me motivated. And actually, a big reason why this show exists right now is the motivation you left me back in March. So I want to thank you publicly for that. So I appreciate that, man.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad I could, I'm glad I could play that part. That's incredible. And I'm glad you went through with it, man. Because, like I said, motivated for a minute or driven and actually going forward with it. So it's very good that you went through with it.
Yeah, and you know what? I hope that this can be a good platform going forward for smaller artists, younger artists, and guys like yourself and Crypt who are more established, and just a place to kind of talk about your projects when they drop. So that being said, thank you again, Vin. And, I really do hope to have you on again soon, and maybe we'll be talking about another album or an upcoming tour by that time.
Absolutely, man. I'd be happy to come on again.
Oh, thank you so much, brother. Well, you have yourself a good night and stay safe during these crazy times.
You too, man.
I want to thank everybody for tuning into today's episode, my interview with Vin Jay. Thank you again, Vin, for the interview. I appreciate you, man, deeply, and I wish you all the luck with the Prophecy release. I want to thank all of you for listening today on a topic that's so important. Being transparent about my own issues with bullying when I was younger and cutting is not something I ever foresaw myself putting out there. But I want people to know that know me, I've been through it. And it's not just me. So many other people have been through this. You're not alone. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. And I just want to see this community be the best it can be. And in order to be that, we can be honest with each other. We can be brutally honest with each other when we need to be. But we don't have to be mean. Seems like such a simple word, right? Mean. But we don't have to be mean. We don't have to be jerks about it. We don't have to be horrid to one another to get the same point across. So that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll be much lighter hearted when I come back to you this week. Friday, my interview with Joey Nato drops. I encourage everyone to tune in for that. And For the That Being Said podcast today and the here and now of podcasting, I bid you adieu, and God bless you wherever you are.